Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today we are covering Little Evil, which is a Netflix original.
Yes.
But before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea. But actually, I do want to make mention. Do we want to say why we're doing Little Evil?
So, the movies, most of the movies this month were picked by me because I am due the month that these are airing, not exactly when we're recording this.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a bit of a theme of kids.
Yeah.
Either the kids being the little evil things, or kids being protected from the big bad. So, but kids are involved in each of the movies this month.
Yeah, it's like normally this month for February we have a Valentine's theme, but we decided to change it up since I feel
They're
like
hard
this is
to
a bigger
find
occasion.
anyway. Yeah, it's a bigger occasion, but also Valentine's movies are hard to find. Let's be real.
That's true.
Valentine's horror movies.
Yeah.
There's maybe a handful of them.
Yeah, but we hope you enjoy the... It's like, these are definitely like horror movies, but these are like on the lighter side.
A little bit, yes.
So we hope you enjoy the mix-up.
Yes, a lot of them have some humor thrown in as well.
Yes.
So, like this one.
Yes. But, so for today, I am drinking the Rishi Lavender Mint Tea. It's got peppermint, sage, licorice root, lavender, and lavender extract. But yeah, the weather is a-changin' and the sinuses are
You're gonna hear
congested, so...
You're gonna hear us sniffling quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry in advance.
Yeah.
It's starting to turn winter here while we're recording this, so good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody.
So I am drinking the Republic of Tea's The Crown Princess Peach Bellini tea. And if I can find what
That's a good one.
again. It has black tea, natural peach, apricot, or apricot, whichever you prefer, vanilla cream, and champagne flavors, not actual champagne. And organic monk fruit and peach bits.
I wonder what they mean by champagne flavor. Like if it's like an artificial flavor that tastes like...
I'm sure it's an artificial flavor.
Or if it's like a combination of ingredients that make it taste like champagne. I don't know.
How if I know?
But
it's fine. I needed just a little bit of caffeine.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
But for our lovely tea sippers, brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. And we would love to hear what tea you're drinking while you're listening to this episode. So, for Little Evil, I'm gonna wing it.
Do you want me to?
I mean, it's a pretty straightforward plot.
Okay.
Essentially, this guy gets married, and he's going to be a stepdad to a younger kid, and it starts off like, oh, this is just like typical, but then it's like, no, the kid is literally like the portal for Satan, like he is the Antichrist. And I love when the mom like explained how he was conceived too. That was pretty funny. Because she was like, oh, this is completely normal. And he's like, no.
You're not allowed to judge a freak out.
Like,
no big deal. But remember that time I told you about where I was kind of in a cult?
yeah. But yeah, just that.
Yeah.
So, for entertainment, oh man. This was a pretty silly movie overall, but it's like one of those things where it's like, I've never been a stepdad, but if I were like a step parent, I could totally see going through a less extreme situation where you're like, you can have trouble connecting to the kid, and you're trying to do what you can to connect, and the kid is doing things that you're like, is this normal? Like, I don't understand this, especially like if you don't have a kid yourself and you're not sure how kids do. But so it's one of those examples where it's a horror movie that takes a situation that's like real life and kind of scary, and then they just like do a comedic horror twist where it's like, no, the kid's actually the Antichrist, and initially tries to kill the dad, but then they end up becoming like close.
Yeah. It all works out in the end.
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing that?
I don't know. Hold on.
Stop it.
Hold, please. Oops. Sorry. Okay. But anyways, but yeah, it's just, and Owl is like the perfect, would it be scapegoat? Or just a perfect reflection of the type of situation that they're trying to parody, where like Owl's like, oh, the twins are like little devils, like they can be like really difficult, but then I forgot the main character's name. Kevin? No.
I forget too.
Maybe Kevin. Anyways, he's like explaining the situation, and Owl's like,
Gary. His name's
Gary. Gary. Where did I get
have it. I have no
from?
idea, but I have it written down, so it's Gary.
Okay.
And the kid's name is Lucas.
Yes. Which, I mean, I love that name. If I ever had a kid, I'd name them Lucas. I like that name. Anyways. But yeah, it's like Gary's explaining the situation, and Al's like, no, like that's not what I meant. So, yeah, yeah,
I mean, all kids are pretty evil, but yours is like the top.
Top tier.
Like, that's the finish line.
And then I love the dynamic of the mom just being like, we gotta be supportive for Lucas, we gotta be on his side. And just,
she is in full mama bear mode the entire movie.
Yeah, so this is a movie that is not going to be a go-to, but I will come back and watch. So I would probably give it like a 7. It's like, yeah, I'll watch it again and I'll enjoy it, but it's not the most hilarious horror movie I've seen, and it's not.
I've seen funnier.
Yeah, like Tucker and Dale.
Yes.
That's definitely.
That one's
tier.
one of my go-tos.
Yeah. And honestly, I kind of like Burying the X.
Yes.
It's been a while since we talked about that movie, but that one was really funny.
Yes, that one was funny too.
But yeah, so it's like, overall, like, it's a decent movie. Definitely worth the watch if you're in the mood to watch that kind of movie. But as far as like horror and comedy, it's not top tier. It's good. It's just a good, decent, well-rounded movie, but nothing that sticks out to me, I guess. Yeah.
So I enjoyed it a little bit more than she did. I thought a lot of it was fairly hilarious, and I was laughing through most of the movie. But this is also like I think the third time I had seen it. So I got a bit more out of it, especially since you know what's coming.
Yeah, the first watch is always...
the first watch I was like, this is kind of funny, but it's like, what the hell's going on for part of it?
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a little out there. The second watch, I was like, okay, yeah, this is fairly funny. And then the third watch, it keeps getting just a little bit better each time I watch it. Again, it's not quite like a go-to for me, but it's still one that if it's on, I'm definitely going to watch it. So I give it a 7.25.
Only a little higher.
Little bump. I thought that, and we'll get to more in the realism, I thought that a lot of the reactions and things, though exaggerated, especially with the situations, were exaggerated, but were still fairly accurate to a point, and realistic and believable.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't take you fully out of the movie setting when they bring a lot of that stuff in.
Yeah, a lot of the reactions seemed pretty reasonable.
Yes.
Aside from the mom. Well, in the beginning, when she's like, oh, it's... Like, whenever the teacher, like, killed herself... Well, okay, I'll talk about that in the realism.
From a different perspective, I can kind of get it. A little bit.
Like, she's blaming the teacher. Like, oh, well, the teacher should have been less fragile.
Yeah, again, a little exaggerated, but I can still see a lot of where she's coming from for certain things. That was a bit extreme. But
yeah, I was like,
I feel like she definitely should have gotten help if she was feeling that way for sure. But there was also influences, and again, we'll get into that later. But it's, for the most part, still fairly believable enough that it doesn't take you out of the movie setting. It knows that it's a parody and it's a comedy, and it leans into it, but not too hard. I feel like.
Yeah, it's not too silly.
Yeah. But there are a lot of movies that do that, where they lean a little too hard into it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like it's a pretty happy middle.
Yeah.
Like, it's got more serious scenes and then some really, like, funny, like, laugh out loud parts.
Yes. I appreciated that while they could have made it super, super creepy and very dark, they kept it fairly light, and they kept it mostly on his struggle of trying to be a good stepdad and trying to step into that role without too much calamity going on.
Yeah, like, even towards the end when they could have taken it super dark, it still felt, like, lighter.
Yes, definitely. So I appreciate that they did that. I know it takes it a little bit away from the horror genre, but they still had horror elements in there that still brought a little bit of darkness, but a little bit of fun too. So I about died when the kid brought out the hand puppet.
Yeah, that
with the different voice, the deep voice.
Because it's like, we've seen horror movies where they pull shit like that, but you've also seen a normal kid in real life pull that shit too.
Yeah,
something kids do.
So at the same time, it's, on one hand, okay, yeah, that's super fucking creepy, but on the other hand, shit kids do.
And kids do different voices and stuff
they
like
do,
that.
all the time.
Yeah.
Now, logically, there's no way that kid can actually have that deep a voice. Like, there's no way that came from him, really, without something going on. But at the same time, it's creative. And kids do some creepy stuff sometimes without even meaning to half the time.
Yeah, like when they're talking to, like, their imaginary friends or whatever that's in their head, and you're just, like, outside looking, and you're just like, what the hell?
So also, I know that I used to do this as a kid.
Uh-oh.
I didn't mean to scare Mom when I did this.
You didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to. I was trying to gently wake her up and not, like, startle her awake and burst in the room or anything. But if I would wake up in the middle of the night and I needed something and had to go wake them up, then I'd, like, go very, very quietly into the room and stand by the bed and just gently reach out and touch. So she'd wake up to suddenly there's someone touching her arm or something, and she opens her eyes and there's a silhouette of a kid just standing by the bed. So, I mean...
Yeah.
Which can admittedly be rather creepy. Especially since I got out of my room upstairs, all the way down the stairs, and into their room without making a noise. I was trying not to wake up anyone else. I'm sorry, Mom. But kids do weird, creepy stuff like that all the time. And they're playing make-believe and imaginary friends and things like that. And they'll make different voices, or they have these off-the-wall scenarios that, listening, especially out of context, you're like, okay, wait, slow down. What's going on here? Where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
So, it happens. But But this movie does exaggerate a lot of it. And it makes it just on the side of comical.
Yeah, like, I love that they put quite a few, I mean, minus, like, the kicking, like, bearing the stepdad, but it's like they bring up a lot of, like, situations that you could totally see happening, but they just, like, turn it up a few degrees.
Yes. So, I'm very glad that they brought a lot of that in. The cult story was hilarious.
Yeah, especially like she's just like, oh, it's like
so nonchalant about it.
Yeah, and he's like,
casual.
What?
This is fine. This is normal. It's not a big deal, you know. Everyone goes through a phase at some point, you know. No.
No.
So. Yeah. It's just a lot of it was really enjoyable and fairly relatable enough that I feel like most people can really get into the movie. So, even if you don't have kids, you can kind of put yourself in that situation and really connect with at least Gary, the main character dude. So, that's what I have for entertainment. If you want to go into realism, I have more on that, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, realism on this one is kind of difficult because, like we said, there are some, like, realistic-ish situations. It's just exaggerated. But then it's also, like, yeah. This one's a difficult one.
It's hard.
Because it's like, oftentimes I'll get my ratings by comparing movies to, like, other movies, but it's like...
This one was hard to compare to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to slide mine in real quick?
Please.
Okay. So, I gave it a 2.5. And most of that is just the reactions to a lot of the things and certain situations that he's found in that seem believable. Again, most of it is exaggerated, so I had to take off a little bit because, you know, kid's the Antichrist legit. So, but things like the mom definitely being on the kid's side, I get that. That makes sense. She is the mom. He is an unknown variable. I feel like normally most moms, if they've been dating a guy for a while, would slowly introduce the two, see how they get along, and probably date for a good while like that before getting married. It seems like she had been burned before doing things like that, so she kind of waited for the most part until closer to the marriage to introduce the guy and the kid.
But it's like at the same time, it's like if a guy won't want to be with you because of your kid, you kind of need to get that out of the way. Like you should be with the guy if they don't want to be with your kid too.
Like, I get her reasoning. I don't agree with it by any means, but I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But it seemed a bit off that he wouldn't have at least pressed a little more. Like, I would feel more comfortable hanging out with him a few more times before we actually go through with the wedding, just to make sure that he's comfortable with me being around, so it's not as big of a change for him when I move in.
Yeah, because it's not just about the stepdad meeting the kid. It's about if the kid is okay with the stepdad.
And most moms are a lot more concerned with how the kid is doing with the guy than the guy is doing with the kid, because the kid is the first priority.
Yeah, and I can understand her saying that she didn't want him to have, like, abandonment issues if they didn't work out. But it's like, I don't know. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, this might be your new stepdad. You can be like, hey, this is a friend of mine. You know, how do you like him? You can kind of, like, do
feel them out
little
a
like
little bit.
partial lies.
Hey, we're gonna meet someone that I'm kind of close with.
Yeah.
He might be around a bit more often, so I want you to meet him and see if you guys kind of connect or get along. How'd you like him?
Yeah, don't stick in his head, this might be your next dad.
No, you don't have to spring
Just be
that
like,
on
this
him.
is a friend of mine, and so that way there's no pressure on either one of them.
Yeah. Say, hey, we're gonna go to dinner with someone I'm close with. See how we get along and all. I really like him, he's fun. I'm hoping you'll have fun with him too. But, not my kid, not my place. But it just seemed a little, kind of weird for everyone involved that, well, we're now a family unit, so let's make this work right out the gate. Like, she seems a little put out that he was having trouble connecting with the kid, but he was also kind of thrown into the situation. And kids act out, especially with big changes and all, especially like this situation. It's a huge change. There's suddenly this guy that you don't really know well in the house with your mom, like, and trying to connect with you out of nowhere and try to be your dad.
Yeah, like, I feel like if you're in that situation, you could slowly integrate where he comes over during the weekends and then maybe starts, like, spending a week and then 2, like, so gradually, it just feels like overall they just kind of, bloop, just like...
Yeah, they just dropped him in.
Yeah.
And expected him to swim.
Yeah.
Poor guy was thrown into shark-infested deep water.
Yeah.
And was like, good luck, man, you got this, and they just motorboated off. So, yeah. But kids acting out is normal. Obviously, most of this was exaggerated. But I can see kids doing different things, pranking the newcomer, or just all around being a pain. Because it's an unfamiliar situation. Not used to it. I know you have some experience with this. Well, that's your stuff to tell, though, if you want. And I can also see how different authority figures outside of the situation are viewing it, because they don't necessarily have the information of this poor guy was just dropped in. He didn't have the luxury of connecting or bonding with him or hanging out with him more before the wedding or moving in. So he's legit just stepping in right now. So like the people at the school saying, oh, well, you're having issues connecting. They don't know the full situation. I do feel like that was a bit much. But at the same time, I can kind of see how they would side more with, you need to go get support. You need to talk to people about it. You need to work on this. And I can definitely see the mom, of course, taking the kid's side for the most part. That's her baby. And she's going to take the kid's side a lot. They did mention that in the dad support group, too, was the mom's going to take the kid's side all the time. But it was, again, for comedic effect that everything was exaggerated. And I'm sure it still feels like that, though, in real life. Like, the poor guy couldn't catch a break.
Yeah.
The scene with the clown at the birthday party, to be fair, he shouldn't have found him on Craigslist. And also, to be fair, fire is never a good idea at a kid's party. But a lot of that was, again, exaggerated for comedic effect. And was still hilarious, not gonna lie. The whole bit with the guy, I forget his name, but he was gonna try to kill the kid instead. He was the one that had the dagger.
Oh.
That was a bit much. That took me out of it a little bit. And was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a movie, and I'm a little bit out of the story here. But, it didn't take me out of the fun of the movie too much. It was just the realism of it was like, okay, we're hitting pause here apparently on realism. And this is fine. When Lucas sleeps in the bed with the parents, kids sleep in the weirdest positions. I thought that was nice that they put that in. It was fairly accurate. I've seen some weird positions, and I know I've slept in some weird positions as a kid in the weirdest places. So, like, kids can sleep literally anywhere. They are without bones, so, you know, they can do that and get away with it without, you know, severe pain the next day. That definitely checks out. I found it interesting that they had a flashlight affixed to the wall. Like, do the lights go out that often in the hall? Because I feel like that's a problem. Either with whatever kind of bulbs you're getting or the electricity, largely, that probably needs to be checked out, because if they're burning out that much, there's an issue, and that to me signals potential fire, which is not safe.
I know some people will have a flashlight handy if they want to, like, go downstairs or go out in the house or something and don't want to turn on the lights.
Yeah, but most people don't have them affixed to the wall like that. Like, yeah, right next to the light switch.
Yeah, that definitely was, like, very, like, specific.
Yes. That's a problem.
But lets you know where the light is, or the flashlight is.
Yeah, most people have it in a drawer next to their bed or something. Somewhere handy like that. But, okay. That just seemed a little, might want to get that checked out. Gary was also way too heavy for Lucas, a 5 to 6 year old boy, to drag all the way outside and then bury that quickly. No. Calling nope on that one. I did thoroughly enjoy Lucas giving him the middle finger right before the blood rain started, though. Just comedy-wise. And also Gary being the dad when they were getting ice cream and he was about to be arrested, and the kid said something to the effect, I think he said, like, go to hell or something like that, and he, like, grabbed the kid and, like, covered his mouth, and he's like, we're working on our manners. Because kids say the darndest things. Now, granted, this kid probably would have made something happen that Gary was trying to prevent. But the fact that he's like, we're trying to work on our manners. That was great. And also, yes, the hope for the best but prepare for the worst thing. I'm pretty sure the portal to hell was definitely the worst.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much worse it could get from there. Yeah, there's not much you can do to prepare for that, but maybe work on your rock climbing skills, maybe. But other than that, you know, cardio, maybe.
Stamina.
Yeah. Apart from that, there's not really much you can do to prepare for that. Just make sure you have a strong drink waiting for you at the end of it, I guess. You might need it. But overall, it steps just outside of the realism realm. Mostly, again, for comedic effect, but just to push certain points. The reactions to a lot of those, again, some of them are exaggerated, but Gary's, I feel like, on the whole, are fairly realistic and accurate. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit realistic, but it was just unrealistic enough that I was like, Hilarious movie. Had a bunch of fun watching it. It's better with a couple of watches, for sure. But it's not very realistic overall.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think the 2.5 is pretty spot on. So I'm going to go with that. But the biggest thing that I was kind of perplexed by, and this is like in addition to what Jess said, because I feel like you brought up some really good points, but on the school, like they asked Gary mentioned to the school that they just got married. Yay, I'm glad you like it. And I would have thought it would probably be prudent of the school to ask how recent they got married, because if they literally like just got married, then maybe it would have been something better to, maybe mention it to the stepdad, but really talk to the mom as like the head guardian over the kid. Because with something as big as what happened, it seems like they would want like...
I feel like they would have wanted both parents there.
Yeah, like it just seemed kind of odd that they're like, oh, you just came in the picture, we're going to put all of this on you, and we're also going to dissect like your relationship, and it's just really weird.
Well, also, they didn't really ask how much time he had spent with Lucas beforehand. Most people hear, oh, you just got married, but they think, okay, they've probably been dating for a good while, and he's been around the kid a good while before marriage. So they probably assumed.
Maybe, yeah.
Which you shouldn't do. But
that's like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It's like, I would think that if I was in that principal role, or even the counselor role, and I knew that the parent was kind of just put into the picture, I would want someone who knew Lucas's history and, as you said, at least ask for both parents to be present.
Yeah.
It just...
And rescheduled if the other one, the one that had been there longer around the kid, couldn't be there just then. Like, okay, then we need to find a time where we can all sit down, or at the very least we can sit down with her.
Yeah, or at the minimum a phone call with her.
Yes. Conference call, something.
Yeah, it just... Yeah, that didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But, I mean, schools can do some really stupid things, so maybe it's realistic, I don't know.
I couldn't say at the moment. I could probably get some stories in a year or two, but we have some family members that are teachers, and one of my close relatives just recently started as a teacher, so maybe in a year or so I can get some stories for y'all.
But, yeah, you touched on everything else. I guess maybe the other unrealistic thing is the friends being so gung-ho to defy police with their friend, with Gary. that at least me, there'd be a point where it's like, if you're gonna...
I get Al.
Yeah.
Al knew more what was going on, but they just told the other guys. They didn't really see any of this or have proof of any of it. So it sounds pretty out there.
Yeah.
But that is a supportive group, and bravo to Gary for finding them, honestly. Those are some ride or dies over there.
For real. Man, it was so funny when they just like take off from the police car. They're all like, hee! Like, they're
having the time of their lives in that monster truck.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't seen this movie, this is definitely a fun one.
Yeah. It's great.
But yeah.
The tornado was also a little...
Oh yeah, that's one I forgot to mention. Yeah, it's like the tornado just... Yeah, like how...
Whipping everything else around except Lucas, and...
Yeah.
Nobody grabbing the kid.
Well, plus, like, with him being the Antichrist, I don't know, I always think of, religion aside, just thinking, like, logically what I think of God and the devil and what they're capable of. I feel like the weather is, like, a God thing. And so it's just kind of weird that, like, I could picture, like, Satan be like, oh, I'm going to open up a portal, and then I'm like, I can do more. I don't know. But oh well, that's future me's problem.
Tiny tippy tap. I'm sorry.
But I don't know. That's just me. That's what I picture.
I don't know. I kind of attribute all of it to everyone. But I feel like no one grabbing the kid and trying to get him to shelter. They were all just kind of running around in a panic, and everything was being blown around except the kid. So that was a bit off. And granted, he was the one causing it, so of course he wasn't unaffected. But nobody knew that at the time.
But then, like, of course, like, the mom is, like, so protective of him. It does seem out of character for her to not, like, try and... Yeah, protect him.
So, just saying.
Yep. But anyways, thank you so much for joining us today, and please comment on what you thought of the movie. If you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea, and keep up to date with our content, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Discord, and most places you listen to podcasts.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share our content. If you'd like to support us monetarily, we do have our Teespring with our lovely merch mugs and other shirts and things available, including spoons. And our PayPal donate button available as well.
For people that don't understand the spoons joke, they're going to be so confused by that reference.
If you don't understand the spoons thing, then go watch our live stream from... What was it?
It's the I'm on observation duties live stream. I think it's the second one.
Yes.
Which was in September.
Yes. So go watch our September live stream from 2022. Then you'll get it. But you can find all of the sites mentioned linked down below. And until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy. Bye!